Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good afternoon, and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number, I'm going to have to guess here, 849 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada. Indeed, 849. 100% Canadian, always. Today, recording day is Friday, February 13th, 2026, the day before El Dia del Amor, their Valentine's Day. And please remember, kids and cubs, and I do not mean this in the dirty way, but if you happen to indulge, we don't judge. Self-love is indeed love. All right. Today, as I mentioned, today, recording day, Friday, February 13th, 2026, and it is a actually cloudy day here at the Puerto Vallarta Beaver Lodge. It's siesta time, so I figured I would do a little bit of a show for you today, given that we didn't get to do one yesterday. As you see, for some reason, for someone who looks tropical, I do not do very well with heat. So the siesta hours when the sun's hottest are the ones where I tend to melt. So this is a good time, actually, for me to take a break in my day from vacationing and have a little bit of damn fam time with you, which I always enjoy. So very sorry for not being able to have produced a show yesterday for the better part of 24 hours. We had problems with Restream after we did our live show on Wednesday. I took a break, had a little bit to eat, and I was going to do a pre-record for 1 hour for the Thursday show, and therefore get on the schedule that I had been wanting to be on. We had to wait till we had our more permanent place here to do that in Mexico, and then to record them during the siesta hours and then play them the next morning at 7:30. But Restream would not cooperate every time that we turned it on and pressed the button to record. The screen would just go dark and then disappear. So we tried absolutely everything. And then yesterday, the good folks at Restream looked into things a little more and kept on saying that there were CPU crashes over and over again. And we couldn't figure it out because, well, one, I'm using my phone, and I've been using the phone all trip. But it would appear that after we had exhausted everything, the technician at the other end said, have you tried clearing your cache? And I said, no, I think that's about the only thing we haven't tried yet. So I went and I cleared the cache, and then boom, there we go. So that's all it was, is that there was too much stuff loaded in the cache of the phone, and Restream just would not work. It kept on shutting down to try to get rid of stuff that was open. But the thing is that there was nothing else open. It was just Restream because I'm on my phone, so I don't have all the tabs that you sometimes see when I'm on my computer. So yeah, we were at a loss to figure out what was wrong, and then in a Hail Mary attempt, we basically got to the point, did you try unplugging it and plugging it or jiggling it a bit? And turns out that was the problem the whole time. So hopefully, fingers crossed, We will have a full show without interruption and disconnections, and the restream shutting down, and we'll have we'll be able to focus on the content today. Kids and Cubs, how's your mental health today? I'm today better. Yesterday shaky. Had 2 nights of terrible sleep. Yesterday I had a lot. Got to bed early, and I actually did not get out of bed before 11 a.m. our time, and usually I'm up way before that, and I had no idea it was that late. Usually my biological clock tells me, it's a certain time you need to get up, and yeah, that didn't happen. I was exhausted. We were at dinner yesterday, and I had trouble staying awake for dinner. And the night before, same thing. We came in from the beach. It was around 8:30, and we were deciding whether to go dinner or not. And I was falling asleep on the bed. And I almost decided to go to bed without dinner, just to get some sleep. But then I figured I would be raging hungry the next morning, and I didn't want that either. And yeah, things have been a little off at this end. Hopefully, things will get better. I won't lie, Kids and Cubs, this vacation has not been very vacationing. It's been work. We've had to move a lot of mountains and change a lot of stuff, and really try to be positive because of all the things that have happened. This trip, it has not been smooth in any way, shape, or form. But again, as we say, trying to squeeze the juice out of every good moment to make this worthwhile. We still have a week left, so hopefully the last week will be smooth, and we'll actually start to have the feeling that we actually are on vacation. Because for my Beaver sweetie, maybe he's there, but for me, I'm not there yet. I don't want to say this vacation has been a bit of a waste, but I won't lie, it has not been what I wanted it to be, and it has not been the break I had wanted it to be. So, not feeling rested or rejuvenated after 2 weeks. I am sorry to report. But hey, that's life. You roll with the punches and you make the best of what you got, and try to create good moments and happy memories so that you don't look back on it only negatively. But yeah, it would. I had a whole different other vibe in mind when I was planning this, and it has not happened for us on this trip, unfortunately. But enough about me, as the great Catherine O'Hara once said in one of her SCTV skit characters. And let's get on with the show, because we have a lot to get through. Title of our show, Good, Bad, and Ugly, because over the past few days, there's been a lot of all of it. The good, fortunately, is that the very, very tragic and horrendous, shocking events in Tumbler Ridge, BC, for most of us, has brought out the best in us. We're hearing reports that first responders were and police whatnot were on the scene within minutes of having received the call, that they did not hesitate to go into the buildings, and things could have been a whole lot worse were that not the case. Community of Tumbler Ridge, BC has really come together, as everyone would expect it would. When you're a community of over 2,400 people, being close-knit is the way that you get through a lot of things. Our MPs have shown remarkable restraint. I was listening to an issue with Andrew Coyne, and even though people were looking at his comments a little more cynically, he does have a point. Politicians are always on 24/7. There's always being politic, if not being political. And in this case, everybody is being politic in the way Canadians would hope they would be in such a situation. So kudos to everyone there. First responders, as we mentioned, did a great job. Grief counselors doing a great job. Right. There are no criticisms there. The partisanship has indeed been set aside for the moment, which is good. As we mentioned, the Prime Minister, we thought he would not be going to the Munich Security Conference, I believe it is. He is not going. He sent a complement of 3 ministers. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Gary, the defense minister, I believe, is there. David McGuinty. I believe Anita Anand, our global affairs minister, is there as well. And the name of the third MP or member of cabinet who is going happens to escape me at the moment, even though I just read it moments before doing the show. But Prime Minister Mark Carney has stayed, as we mentioned as well. In the House of Commons, there was a session on, I think it was on Thursday. Yes, I hope it was Thursday, Wednesday. My days are getting mixed up on where at around 2 o'clock, the House Leader, Stephen McKinnon, rose and asked the House for permission for the leaders of the two parties that do not have official party status in the House to have permission to speak, because that is needed, and I believe it is needed with a unanimous consent, given they do not have party status, and that was granted. So again, congratulations on the House for doing the right thing in the right way, and everybody in the House did get up and make some statements. After the statements were made, everybody came to the floor of the House. There were hugs, there were handshakes, all the things that we would expect. Prime Minister then announced at some point that he would be going to Tumbler Ridge, and I believe that is today, for some ceremonies, vigil, commemoration, however you want to call it. And as one would hope would happen, and did happen, the Prime Minister invited the leaders of all the parties to join him. And I believe the leader of the Bloc Québécois, Yves-François Blanchet, was the first to say yes, and everybody else did follow. So all of them are there. The MP for the area, Bob Zimmer, has been there already. The Minister of Public Safety, Gary Anand-Sangri, had gone. The MLA and the legislature for BC, whose name escapes me at the moment, I am sorry to have to say, was there. Everybody is doing, again, that which one would expect. The best of us. The best of us is coming to the surface, and we need that. We absolutely need that. The other person going to the Munich Security Conference is the Minister of Artificial Intelligence, Evan Saul, as well. Just found the information here. I was looking it up. If we were doing the show out of our Beaver Lodge studio back home, we would be showing you clips of what everybody had to say in the House. I cannot do that. Therefore, I think it is worth doing so, in case you did not see it, to read it into the record on our show. Because, again, this is what we want to see from our elected officials. This is behavior we wish to encourage with positive reinforcement. And we would like that this behavior not require a tragedy for it to exist and occur. So Prime Minister Mark Carney rose in the House and said, "Mr. Speaker, this morning, families in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, woke to a different world. Parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters began this day as their first day on earth without someone they loved dearly. What happened has left our nation in shock and all of us in mourning. 9 people killed, more than 25 others injured, some still in hospital fighting for their lives. The investigation is ongoing, and we must allow law enforcement the time and space to do their work accordingly. Mr. Speaker, as this House knows, Tumbler Ridge is a community of some 2,400 people nestled in the foothills of the Rockies. It is one of the youngest towns in the great province of British Columbia. It was carved out of the wilderness in the 1980s, built on the promise of the resource economy and by the determination of its residents. It's a town of miners, teachers, construction workers, families who have built their lives there, people who have always shown up for each other there. When wildfires raged, neighbors helped each other pack up and move out of harm's way. They checked in on seniors and those living alone. They made sure that no one was left behind. When the coal mines shut down, residents supported local businesses. They shared leads for jobs and they lifted each other up. Mr. Speaker, Tumbler Ridge represents the very best of Canada, resilient, compassionate, and strong. Yesterday morning, parents in Tumbler Ridge sent their children off to school, and some will never be able to hug their children again. These children and their teachers bore witness to unheard of cruelty. I want everyone to know this. Our entire country stands with you. On behalf of all Canadians, I offer my prayers to the victims, to their families and friends, to all those who were injured, and to all those whose lives have been forever changed. I want to express my profound gratitude to the first responders, the RCMP officers who entered immediately that school, not knowing what awaited them, to the paramedics and medical staff at the Tumbler Ridge Health Center, to the teachers and the school staff who acted with extraordinary courage to protect the children in their care. In the darkest of moments, they showed the best of our country. I have spoken with Premier Eby to express my condolences and those of the Government of Canada. The Minister of Public Safety has been coordinating the federal response and is en route to Tumbler Ridge with the Premier and Minister Robertson. The MP Bob Zimmer is already there. Our officials are in close contact with their provincial and local counterparts to ensure that the community receives every support that we can provide now and in the weeks and months ahead. Mr. Speaker, we have been here before. L'École Polytechnique in Montreal, the Islamic Cultural Center of Quebec City, La Loche, Saskatchewan, Humboldt, Saskatchewan, Portapique, Nova Scotia. Each time it breaks us open. Each time Canadians show who we are. Mr. Speaker, in the days ahead, there will be important questions to ask, difficult conversations to have. We owe that to the victims and their families, but now it's time for grieving and remembrance. Now is for the people of Tumbler Ridge and the Peace River region, for a community that is enduring the unimaginable. Mr. Speaker, a few moments ago, we held a moment of silence for the grieving community and families. For many of them today, silence is only too heavy. We will never be able to fully reconcile ourselves with the senseless violence that tore apart Tumbler Ridge, but we can seek comfort from each other and we can take care of each other. To those families who have lost loved ones, this house mourns you. To those who are recovering from injuries, this house prays for you. To the students, the teachers, the parents, every resident of Tumbler Ridge, all of Canada stands with you. May the memories of those lost be a blessing. May this community, which has shown its resilience so many times before, once again find the strength to heal. And may this house prove worthy of what Tumbler Ridge has always been by striving to make Canada a better, kinder, and safer place. On that, there is some good news. There was one person who had been reported dead. Turns out it was not the case and is in hospital. So that is positive as well. And we have to remember that in a small community of 2,400, the RCMP detachment that is there, the people that are there, that's not the SWAT team, right? Those are just officers who went in with whatever they had, not knowing what they were going to face in order to handle the situation. And they did not hesitate. Context is very important. The leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition rose and stated, "Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Prime Minister, for your eloquent words. I'm sure words you never wanted to deliver on the floor of this chamber. As fathers, we both know the feeling of sending our kids to school, hoping that they'll play and perform, laugh and learn, but most of all, come home to us in our loving arms at night. Sure, there's the odd skinned knee or sore belly when they get back, but that's usually the worst of our concerns. Yesterday, as we were tucking our kids in, I got a terrible phone call from Bob Zimmer, the Member of Parliament who represents Tumbler Ridge, telling me that a shooting had occurred, and though details were not yet well known, it was going to be bad. And those details have come in. Children who should have been thinking about homework and hockey were instead thrown into terror, grief, and unbearable uncertainty. 9 lives were stolen, 25 injured, 9 families devastated, an entire community in grief. That community is the best of Canada, a community of miners and loggers, hardworking people, hardy, strong, the kind of people who fight their own battles but never hesitate to help a neighbor in need. They are the backbone of this nation. Behind every number is a name, a child, a friend, a teacher, a neighbor, a family member, each with a story. or as the rabbi said, each life is its own universe. As a father, I can only imagine the phone call or visit that brought the news, the panic, the helplessness, the heartache that followed. No parent should ever have to fear that their child will not return home from school. No parent should ever bury their own child. As a father, I can only imagine the call. To the families who have lost loved ones, there are no words that can comfort or verses that can console. All we have is the words of all members of this house that we are with you, and that in the memories you carry of your loved ones, they will live on in this world even after they have passed into the next one. To the young people who were in that school, I've had indirect accounts shared with me, and I can't even imagine what you witnessed or the horrors to which you have borne witness. I cannot comfort you or heal those wounds, other than to say that the whole nation wraps its arms around you. To the people of Tumbler Ridge, Canadians across the land are thinking of you. The world is thinking of you. We know that in your small, tight-knit community, grief spreads across families, workplaces, churches, and friend groups, and we know that all of us stand with you. To the courageous police, paramedics, firefighters, and other first responders, to the staff who risked their lives to save their kids, thank you for your incredible courage. All of us owe you a permanent debt of gratitude. To the pastors, the priests, the clergy, the medical and the mental health professionals whose daunting task now is to bind up the wounds, may God be with you in your work. And on behalf of the official opposition, as I told the Prime Minister moments ago, we will be with you, with the provincial leaders, with local governments, and we will do everything we can to support this community through this hardship. We will stand together. There is no partisanship on this day. And that includes the work that we give in support of our emergency first responders, who will of course be traumatized, but will be carrying out continued efforts on behalf of the community. And to the RCMP, we will support you and your work as you gather up the facts and complete your investigation, and in good time, at the appropriate moment, make all the facts, indeed, all the facts, known to Canadians. And we commit ourselves to being present for all those who have lost so much long after the limelight is gone, but while the grief remains. And so those who suffer today, we offer you our prayers, and for all those who do pray, I ask you to share a prayer with the wonderful people of this amazing town. As the great Psalm said, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me, O Lord. Thank you. Then the leader of the Bloc Québécois rose and started in French, saying, Mr. Speaker, today our thoughts are with the community of Tumbler Ridge in British Columbia. 9 children were torn away from the community and 25 more were injured. Our thoughts are with the victims of this nameless, senseless violence right in a secondary school. I hope you will allow me to make an exception today so that I can speak directly to the families and people in BC who have not at all had a chance to learn French. And context here, Yves-François Blanchet delivers absolutely everything he says in the House of Commons in French. Every time, all the time. But for a little bit of his speech, he made an exception and spoke in English so that the people in BC could understand what he was saying. And in English he said, in the name of the Bloc Québécois and in my own, I would like to offer my deepest condolences to the families of the 9 children whose lives were taken, to the 25 families awaiting and hoping for good news about their wounded children, and to the entire community of Tumbler Ridge. He then continued on in French. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois, and here I presume I can speak for the entire Quebec nation, I offer my condolences to the families of the 9 victims and all our solidarity to the families of the 25 people injured and the community of Tumbler Ridge as a whole. Our hearts are with the families who have been impacted, with the parents who are living through the ultimate cruelty, the ultimate injustice, which nothing can prepare one for, and which I suppose changes one's life forever, having one's child torn away. Our hearts are also with the parents who are holding their breath as they wait for news about their children from the hospital, with those who are divided between relief that they could bring a living child home and deep empathy for the families who could not. With all the students at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School whose lives have just been changed forever, with the children who will always be asking why? Why us? Why them and not me? Why here? Why? Their whys will never get an answer. With all the people who are waiting in dread to learn the names of the victims, knowing that in a community of under 2,400 people, the victims will inevitably be known to them. Grandchildren, neighbors, friends, an entire village has lost its children. I would like to thank the police, care personnel, support workers, and all of those who have gathered in Tumbler Ridge to support its people. Thank you for being there today, and thank you to those who will remain there long after the flags are raised and life has resumed its course. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois, I would also like to offer my hand to the government. It can count on our full cooperation if there is anything it needs to support those in mourning. Today, Quebec and British Columbia have never been closer. All Quebecers who have a child at school today are with British Columbia. All Quebecers today are remembering Polytechnique, the women who were taken from us, and the pain which will endure forever. Everyone is asking today, what kind of a world do we live in? Currently, we have not learned about a motive. But could there be any motive that would justify taking a weapon and aiming it at our children? Nothing will ever explain or justify such a horror. If you allow it, Mr. Speaker, I will end on another note. Our hearts are with Tumbler Ridge, but they are also big enough to have room for another small community, Kitigan Zibi, and the Anishinaabe Nation, which also lost 2 children today. 2 children whose lives were lost at the hands of their own father, who then proceeded to take his own. We would like to say to our brothers and sisters in the Anishinaabe Nation that they do not suffer alone. The Quebec Nation is with them. I'm sure it is the case for the Canadian Parliament as well. Mr. Speaker, today is a dark day. To get through this ordeal will require courage, fellowship, solidarity, and compassion in great quantities and from all quarters. We will remember. NDP Interim Leader Don Davies rose to say, Mr. Speaker, we solemnly gather today in the shadow of a heartbreaking tragedy that has shaken our country. Our nation is in mourning. Yesterday in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, 9 innocent lives were senselessly taken and 25 people were injured in a horrific mass shooting. This violence unfolded at a school, a place meant to nurture and protect our children, deepening the shock and sorrow felt by all Canadians. Loved ones have been stolen, families have been shattered, and a small community will be changed forever. In a place where everyone knows one another, where neighbors are more like extended family, a loss like this reverberates through every home, every workplace, and every gathering. To the families who are mourning, we grieve you, we stand behind you, and we hold you in our hearts. We know that no words can possibly fill the void you are experiencing, but we hope that you can feel the embrace of a nation that stands with you in your grief today, tomorrow, and in all the difficult days ahead. To the families, we grieve with you. And he repeated that in French as well after that. And then he returned to English and said, we remember each of the victims not as numbers in a headline, but as human beings whose lives were rich and meaningful. The light that they brought into the world and the potential they carried can never be replaced and will never be forgotten. To the injured, we send our deepest thoughts of healing and strength. To the students, friends, and teachers who suffered this assault, we are there for you. We express our profound gratitude to the educators who first faced this assault, the first responders who courageously rushed to the scene as it unfolded, and to all the healthcare workers who are caring for the injured. Your humanity and professionalism in the face of trauma remind us of the quiet heroism you display in our communities every single day. We thank the many people of Tumbler Ridge and across the region who have rushed to offer support for one another in this heartbreaking moment. In times like these, the strength of a community is truly revealed. In the face of such senseless tragedy and pain, we feel anger, confusion, and despair. We ask ourselves, how can such violence happen in our communities in this country? These questions matter, and they deserve honest, thoughtful consideration, and there will be a time to answer them. But that time is not today. Today is a day when we cherish the victims and care for their families. Today is a day when we collectively grieve, comfort, and hold each other just a little more tightly. And today is a day when a nation comes together in solidarity and love. Green Party leader Elizabeth May rose to say, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank the Prime Minister for his wise and moving words. I also thank the opposition leader for saying what is hard to say aloud. It is hard for anyone who is a parent to imagine what the community of Tumbler Ridge is going through. I also thank the Bloc Québécois leader who made the important remark that we are now united together. I also thank the Bloc leader for marking the tragedy that the Anishinaabe Nation is undergoing, Miigwech. And I thank the leader of the New Democratic Party who, like me, is a member for BC. There are no words and politicians will try to find words. I will not try to. I want to send my love to our dear friend, the Member of Parliament for Prince George Peace River, Northern Rockies. This is the kind of thing none of us want to have happen in Canada, but to have it happen in a place like Tumbler Ridge, so small, everyone knows everyone, and I know that the Member of Parliament knows everyone, and it is a time our hearts are broken. Now we are not just a nation, we are a united nation and a family. We love each other, and now our hearts are broken. I think of Matthew chapter 5, verse 4, that, quote, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." But that comfort may feel far, far away right now if you're in Tumbler Ridge. Know wherever you are that we're praying for the injured, the 12-year-old little girl fighting for her life in the hospital. We will be with you this day, and yes, and whether believers or not, we are all one in the human family, and we hold you all close. And if there's ever any opportunity that we can, as individual members of Parliament, do anything to alleviate the pain and the suffering and the grief of the people of Tumbler Ridge, we're with you today and always. And before the House rose, the Speaker of the House of Commons, Francis Carpalasia, closed everything off by saying, "Colleagues, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your beautiful expressions of support and love for the community of Tumbler Ridge. Today in this House, we are united in our shock, in our sorrow, and in our thoughts for the people of Tumbler Ridge and the families and friends of who are impacted by this tragic violence. We struggle to find the right words because there are none. Nothing we say here today can change the events of yesterday. We can only hope that our words will in some small way lessen the burden of those who have lost their loved ones. Their lives and the lives of all those in Tumbler Ridge have been changed forever. As members of Parliament, we understand what community means. With our own eyes, we have seen how powerful communities can be in the face of tragedy. And today, as your words have expressed, Canada is united into one community in support of the people of Tumbler Ridge. We recognize the bravery of the first responders who answered the call within minutes and acted with courage and compassion. We recognize the resilience of communities to come together in support and empathy. We recognize the quiet heroes who respond to their neighbors and friends with kindness, caring, and strength this day and in the long days to come. For the people of Tumbler Ridge, we in this House are united and stand with you. Together in this House, we hold you in our hearts, and we will walk with you on your long journey of grief. Finally, I would like to draw members' attention to the condolence book, which can be found just outside the doors of the House. I would invite you to take a moment to send a message to the families impacted by the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge. The Book of Condolences will remain until Tuesday, February 17th, which is also the last day when flags will be flown at half-mast. It will then be brought to the community by the member for Prince George, Priest River, Northern Rockies. As we leave the chamber today, let us commit to compassion for all those affected by the tragedy, to fellowship with all those whose hearts ache, and to support the families, friends, and community that suffered in this dark moment. So, yeah, kids and cubs, that's what the leaders of our parties did on that day. I'm grateful that that's the way it went down. I am grateful that even though everybody was being politic, there are certain parts in these statements where when I was reading, I could have stopped and say, now see here, this is where somebody is being, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Because it serves no useful purpose today. There was a press conference, and identities of the victims were revealed. When it comes to the children, not sure if everybody was named, because that's a decision that is up to the parents, rightfully so, as to how it is they would like that to be treated. But some have been identified, and in some cases, parents are even saying, we need to keep the focus on the kids. So if we need a little help in doing that, you can talk about my kid. Everybody deals with grief differently. It's not for us to judge. God, this is hard. This is so hard. Um, okay. According to the Globe and Mail, our CMP have named those who died in a mass shooting at Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia on Tuesday, including the 5 children and teacher who were killed at a school, and the mother and stepbrother of the shooter who were found dead in a local residence. The victims at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School were, and these are the ones who were named: Abel Mwansa, 12 years old; Kylie Smith, 12 years old; Zoe Benoit, 12 years old; Takaria Lampert, 12 years old; Ezekiel Schofield, 13 years old; and Shanda Avyungana Durand, 39. The mother of the shooter is identified as Jennifer Jacobs, who was also known as Jennifer Strang, 39, died at her home with 11-year-old Emmett Jacobs, who I believe is the shooter's half-brother. And of course, the shooter died of self-inflicted wounds. And if I remember correctly, based on reports, the shooter was 18. This is not a comprehensive list, clearly. But these are the names that have been made public. Okay. So that's the good. Unfortunately, we also need to talk about the bad, because while the general sentiment and the general consensus is that that was a day that was for families and for the dead, there's always got to be one, doesn't there? There's always got to be a few who just can't turn it off, even for one day. And in this case, one day is not enough. When events like this happen, there are certain places we should just never, ever, ever, ever go. Ever. But sadly, it takes all kinds to make a world. Usually that's a positive thing, but not in this case. And there are people, unfortunately, who could not trip / step / drive / see-do in the case of Stockwell Day, who confirmed that Canadians made the right decision in never making him prime minister fast enough to champion whatever negative and toxic cause that they champion. Things got so bad that the parents of one of the children who died, during an interview with CTV, sort of had a moment where he sort of inserted a break in what was being said and mentioned that we should not be focusing on the shooter. We should not be giving as much airtime and press and energy to making any comments whatsoever about the shooter. And yet, some couldn't help. Well, one of those people is an MLA in the British Columbia legislature. And someone who we've mentioned before, the MLA for Kelowna Lake County Coldstream, Tara Armstrong, kicked out of the BC Conservative Party, or she left, one or the other, and for a while was a part of the One BC initiative before it fell apart. Now, before I read this into the record, please know that I take no joy, no delight in this, and I really don't want to, but it has to be said. And if there's anyone in our audience who is transgender, who knows someone who is transgender, who loves and cares for someone who is transgender, I want you to know, one, you are always welcome here. You are welcome wherever I am. I will not be as presumptuous to speak for the entire Damn Fam, but I am pretty confident that that applies for everyone in the member of Damn Fam. I know it applies for Mr. Grizzly. There's a reason why I say my pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver. It's to signal to you that you are safe with us. There is always room at our table for you. And based on what these people I'm about to speak of now have done, I can't say I can't possibly imagine, because given I'm a member of the rainbow community myself, and I have been for a while, and I've seen a couple of things, I know the feeling of maybe not wanting to leave your house, or maybe feeling too afraid to leave your house. But it will be nothing. Anything I've experienced is nothing like what you experience right now. Because this push to attack you and to scapegoat you for absolutely everything that is wrong has been going on for quite a while now. And these people have already been painting you as monsters and evil. And as a result of this tragedy, the thing that they have always wanted, the thing they have always wanted, that they have hoped and they have prayed would happen, has, in order to give them a pretext to run with their hate and their toxicity. I cannot imagine how unsafe you are feeling right now. And that's why I wanted to make it very clear that where we are, you have a home. And that is not going to change. This is not just a today thing. It's been a thing since we've started. It will be a forever thing so long as we are doing this. So long as we have breath or fight in us and we are doing this show, you will always be welcome here. And with that, the words of Tara Armstrong. There is an epidemic of transgender violence spread across the West. There is not. There is not. There are not enough transgender people in existence for there to be an epidemic of violence. And as we all know, members of the transgender community are far more likely to be the subjects of violence than perpetrators of it. She goes on to say, today a transgender school shooter murdered 9 innocent victims and injured 25 more in Tumbler Ridge. My heart breaks for the victims, their families, and their community, but I can't stop at condolences. We need solutions. This is a lie. Her heart does not break for the victims, their families, and their community, because if it did, she would have stopped at condolences. But she didn't. She said those words in passing to check a box. And then she proceeded to do what she had come on the shitter, appropriately named in this case, to do. Quote, look at the pattern. She mentions a whole bunch of incidents. And then she says, this epidemic of violence will continue until we change our society's response to transgender ideology, which is not a thing. When people are endangered to themselves and others, the common sense solution is to treat their mental illness rather than affirm dangerous delusions. I encourage parents and teachers to help fight the transgender violence epidemic themselves. There is none, since their government is obviously uninterested in doing so. This issue is entrenched at every level of our education and healthcare systems. If a minor in your care expresses a desire to transition their gender identity, help them. Offer compassion. Affirming delusions is neglect, not care. Our kids are perfect just the way they are. Yes, that's true. And if they happen to be transgender, they are perfect just the way they are. Miss Armstrong. Our kids are not perfect as they are, except transgender kids. Our kids, all kids, no exceptions, are perfect the way they are. People need to be allowed to become who they were always intended to be by having full opportunity to live their authentic lives as their authentic selves. No exceptions. So they'll tell them plainly they don't need to change their name or experiment with harmful drugs and surgeries to be loved. They're not doing that to be loved, Mr. Armstrong. They're doing that, again, so that they can be their authentic selves and perhaps even grow to love themselves. Real compassion is affirming their real identity, affirming that they don't need to change. I pray for the victims and their families. You don't. I pray that Tumbler Ridge's community can recover from this traumatic event. I hope that one day Canadians can feel safe in their schools, homes, and workplaces. No, you don't. No, you don't. Not all Canadians. You don't want trans kids to feel safe in their schools. You don't want them to be recognized for who they say they are. Let today's senseless tragedy become a catalyst for love and healing. But she couldn't stop at that. Now, what's really interesting is that prior to that, she wrote, my deepest condolences to the victims in Tumbler Ridge, as well as to their families and the entire community. I stand with them in grief and support. That's where she should have stopped. There should have been no more tweets. There should have been no more tweets. Oh, but she had tweets and tweets. She just couldn't stop. Will David Eby take any accountability for this transgender mass murder? Why should he? After 9+ years of pushing radical gender ideology in schools and healthcare, will he finally repeal SOGI? Will he take any action at all? For those who are wondering, SOGI, S-O-G-I, is sexual orientation and gender identity. She has more to say there. But she says, just look at the numbers. The links between trans identification and violence are real. And then she presents a graph with data from Demographic Group, which is not necessarily the most reputable organization. If you want crime statistics, you get it from RCMP, police services, FBI, not from advocacy group who's predisposed to perhaps not thinking that we are equally deserving of love. Perhaps. Another one, Mr. Stockwell Day. Dear Prime Minister Carney, we are at a tragic and historic turning point. Oh, we're at a turning point. I see. As we all grieve the pain of these families, we now have a choice. Mr. Stockwell Day is not grieving the pain of all of the families. There's at least one family that was affected by what happened, whose pain he is not grieving, clearly. Are we going to choose shameful ignorance and downplay what the RCMP and some non-government paid media have said? The killer is biologically male. As if it matters. And if it did matter in any way, shape, or form. Because we have no information whatsoever from any verified force or entity, none whatsoever as to motive. We know that there was a history of mental health issues. We know that there was, at one point, a firearms license that was legally obtained that had lapsed. But other than that, that's all we know. This could have been a mental health issue that has absolutely nothing to do with transgenderism. It could as well, but not because the fact that one is transgender, they are inherently mentally ill. Maybe this was an act of despair. But we don't know. But because we don't know, we should be open to every possibility. Stockwell Day has already decided that he was judge and jury, and in this case, I will not say executioner given the context. But he has decided to be the sole arbiter of what this is really about. And the reason I'm saying this is because when Polytechnic happened, we just didn't start saying that male heterosexuality is a mental illness and that we had to do something about that. Did we? Gender identity could be utterly irrelevant in this instance. And maybe there was a role. We don't know. And we should not be in any way, shape, or form rushing to either self-aggrandize, gain clicks, attempt to fundraise, or gain likes by talking about things, especially stating them as a fact that we know nothing of. Whenever there's a crime, but particularly when there's a crime and a tragedy as horrendous as this one. But some people can't help themselves. We must join other jurisdictions and nations along with international medical and scientific bodies and at least put a temporary hold on the life-threatening practice of allowing children to be subjected to surgical and pharmaceutical alterations related to the issue of so-called gender confusion. Children are not subjected in Canada to surgical alterations. We don't need to join other nations. That already is the case here. This must include an immediate stop to prescribing SSRI medications to children dealing with this question of gender. If Canada's citizens do not begin immediately calling their MLAs and MPs to pursue this subject, then we deserve the highway of horrors that will continue to overrun us. If this happens again, we asked for it, says the allegedly Christian Stockwell Day. Then we have the influencers. One in particular keeps on popping up, even though we do our best never to talk about them. And this one in particular just can't seem to stop reaching for that attention. Now, for context, may I remind you that these influencers, and this particular one was at the CPC Leadership Convention, didn't have to pay the fee to go. And this one was granted the privilege and the profile of being the one who announced the results of the leadership vote. He could not trip over himself fast enough. This person alleges they are a reporter, a / citizen journalist. And on the day this happened, several hours before the RCMP held a press conference in which, during which they started giving some more details about what had happened. This person decided that they knew who the shooter was. This person had photos of who they thought, I shouldn't say that, who they claimed for a fact the shooter was, and circulated it on their social media feeds for everyone to see, stating both as a fact that this was for sure the shooter, and stated for a fact that the RCMP was involved in a cover-up. I wonder where we've heard wording like that before. Allegedly, minutes later, that person took down that post, claiming that they had had inaccurate information and claiming that they had reached out to other accounts to ask them to not circulate the photo of the person of whom they had just claimed for a fact they knew was the shooter. But, of course, damage was done. In fact, the damage was so done that Société Radio-Canada, and I do not understand how this possibly could have done, actually showed it on their 6 p.m. Newscast, which prompted Rachel Gilmore to debunk that immediately, within 20 minutes of it airing on 3 different social media platforms. She has a statement about this that is really, really, really worth your time. And it wasn't retracted until way too long after. The alleged reporter who posted the pictures stated, quote, photos of the alleged mass shooter in BC today. The RCMP said this was a female suspect. Does this look like a woman to you? Question mark. It's another trans lunatic mass shooter, and the RCMP doesn't want you to know the truth. No, maybe, perhaps not. Photos of the alleged mass shooter, and then 2 photos of that person. Then went into, like Tara Armstrong, what it is he really was there to do. Bash on the transgender community and accuse the RCMP of covering it up. Then, that was at 7:34 p.m. I'm going to guess their time. February 10th, 2026. So that's merely hours after this became public. This person claimed to know the identity, for sure, as a fact, so sure that they spread it across the internet. 12:06 a.m., February 11th. I am going to suppose that this is British Columbia time because I did a little research and it seems that this person is BC based. So about 5 hours later, a second tweet. A few hours ago, I posted an image of someone I believed to be the Tumbler Ridge school shooter before that identification had been verified. The post was removed within minutes. The post was removed within minutes, but it took him a few hours to put that. I have also been proactively reaching out to accounts sharing the same unverified image to encourage its removal so others do not repeat the mistake. Speed is never an excuse for inaccuracy, and I will exercise greater control, greater caution moving forward. Sincere apologies for contributing to any confusion. No. 1, that's not an apology. 2, that's not sincere. As you remember on the show, an apology, especially one that's sincere, the person says sorry. The person says for what they are sorry. The person acknowledges the damage that has been done. The person offers, if they are able to compensate or alleviate or repair damage. And the person commits to show that their apology is sincere by not repeating, in this case, execrable behavior ever again. A few of those elements were in here, but not all of them. This is not accountability. This account tripped over itself to rush to be the first to claim they had the truth by making Tumbler Ridge about itself first. Look at me, I found the scoop. Ain't it great? The RCMP is trying to hide stuff from you, but hey, if you want the truth, come to me. I got it. Making the whole situation about itself. Not the people who died, not the people who are grieving, not the first responders, but about itself, in its own account, in its own self-aggrandizement, in its own self-promotion, and making it about chromosomes rather than the tragedy itself. And all those impacted. Then he issues this BS retraction that has a lot of cover your ass included in it. Let's unpack it. Let's unpack why retraction is not only BS, but not even close to what genuine accountability looks like. As we mentioned, the timestamp 7:34 p.m. on February 10th. Assuming the account is BC based, that was, at the time I had noticed it, 38 hours. And I noticed that around at 10:30 in the morning yesterday. So we can add another 24 and plus hours to that. The first official RCMP press conference, also assuming BC time, was only 19 hours ago from the time I had noticed that. So this person was about 19 hours ahead of any press conference whatsoever from the RCMP that was going to give us some real substantive information other than a tragedy had happened. When the post claiming for a fact the picture included was indeed one of the shooter and that there was an RCMP cover-up, no such verified information existed in the public domain. This raises very serious questions about the level of due diligence the account that made this claim exercised when doing their research or reporting, for questions that must be answered if true accountability is to exist. Questions like, what was the source of the photo? What steps did said reporter take to verify that said source was credible and reliable? What steps did said reporter take to ascertain that the photo was indeed the likeness of the alleged shooter, whose identity had not yet been revealed? What means and methods did said reporter have at their disposal to verify source credibility and photo authenticity or accuracy? Did said reporter have any corroborating and supporting additional verified evidence against which to assess the credibility, authenticity, and accuracy of the source of the photo and the photo itself? If so, what was the evidence and what was the source of it? Who verified it? If it was verified, did said reporter verify that those who did were indeed reputable, reliable, and credible? And if so, how did said reporter go about doing so? Before clicking post, did the fact that said reporter would likely be the first to put such information out to the public domain make them doubt even for a second that their information might not be correct? If so, why did they not do more verification? If not, why? Why was there no doubt? Why does the text of the post by said reporter not contain any source attribution at all via wording such as, quote, based on conversations with people from within whichever organization the photos allegedly originated, who are not at liberty to speak publicly about the case? Also, why did said reporter include the final two editorializing paragraphs? Does this look like a woman to you? It's another translunatic mass shooter and the RCP doesn't want you to know the truth. What was the intended / informational motive or purpose? Actually, let me repeat that because I made a mistake. What was the intended informational motive / purpose of including those editorializing paragraphs? In what way were they critical to revealing the alleged identity of the shooter? Before clicking post, did said reporter consider, given the sheer horror of the case at hand, the potential adverse, even life-threatening consequences to the person in the photo should the information be inaccurate? If not, why not? If so, what additional verification was done to clear the way for said reporter to click post anyway? If so, but no additional verification was done, why not? In the retraction, said reporter claims to have, quote, believed, not known for a fact, but believed the image was of the shooter. Quote, a few hours ago, I posted an image of someone I believed to be the Tumbler Ridge school shooter. In the previous post, he said, these are photos of the shooter. There was no qualifying words in the first post, but there is in the second. On what concrete basis was said reporter's belief formed? And this to the point of deeming it in the public interest to click post and claim for a fact that the image was indeed of the shooter. What information and from whom did said reporter receive within minutes of clicking post to prompt the alleged hasty retraction? Quote, the post was removed within minutes. Why? He was so sure that was the shooter. What information did he receive within minutes that maybe gave him the impression? Well, didn't maybe give him the impression, gave him the certainty that he was wrong. What about that information was so clearly convincing, considering said reporter initially tweeted the identity of the alleged shooter as a known fact? If no new information was received, Did said reporter receive a call from a lawyer to prompt the retraction? If it's so, was it their own legal counsel or someone else's? Say the RCMP's, perhaps? If the call was from legal counsel, is the use of someone I believe to be in the retraction itself wording expressly included by said reporter to hopefully shield themselves from claims of defamation by pre-asserting non-malicious intent? And if that call was indeed from legal counsel and was their own, were they counseled to add that? If the objective is indeed to pre-shield oneself by pre-asserting non-malicious intent, how does said reporter justify the purpose of including the last two paragraphs in the original post? If you did not, in other words, if you did not intend to be malicious, why, when you claimed you had photos that were indeed of the shooter, did you say, "Does this look like a woman to you? It's another trans lunatic mass shooter and the RCMP doesn't want you to know the truth"? I believe them to be. I'm sorry, it was an honest mistake. Really? These two paragraphs seem to indicate that you had other intents than just reporting. Is that another belief? Also, why is there no commentary retracting the allegation of RCMP cover-up? If the image included was inaccurate, did said reporter stop to consider that the accusation leveled against the RCMP might also be inaccurate? If not, why not? And if so, why did said reporter not also address the second allegation made in the original post? Quote, I have also been proactively reaching out to accounts sharing the same unverified image to encourage its removal. How much effort was put into this alleged proactive reaching out? Was the effort sustained? The misinformation was circulated by at least one account with over 5.2 million followers, that of once actor James Woods, that won't be particularly inclined to comply with that request. Is said reporter capable of supplying any evidence of the alleged proactive reaching out? Also, he states, pardon me, I have to cough for a second. I have also been proactively reaching out to accounts sharing the same unverified image to encourage its removal, so others do not repeat the mistake. Why is this effort framed as being done so others do not repeat this mistake rather than so no further harm to the reputation, body, or family and friends of the person misidentified as the shooter? Why does he care about others potentially making a mistake and suffering consequences for it rather than the person identified in that photo suffering consequences for the mistake? Why does he care about one and not the other? Hey, buds, don't share this. Something bad might happen to you. But who cares if something bad happens to the person in the photo? Though, right? Why still no expression of concern for the misidentified person? In my humble opinion, this retraction appears to treat the misidentification as if it was a mere oopsie poopsie, my bad, rather than something that could potentially provoke vigilantism and retribution towards the misidentified person. The lack of transparency as to how the error could have been made in the first place, how the error brought to said reporter's attention, and efforts made to stop the misinformation from circulating is particularly concerning. When coupled with language seemingly included to pre-refute potential defamation suits, the lack of transparency is all the more concerning. The lack of apology to the RCMP for the probably false allegation made against it is also concerning. Finally, the apparent utter and total lack of concern for the person misidentified in the original post, in contrast with concern for those who might share it, in addition to the inclusion of the last two paragraphs of the original post, is most concerning of all. The person who did this is not a reporter. They did not hold themselves to basic and fundamental journalistic standards before claiming they had the truth and claiming they were so sure of it that they would circulate alleged truth for the whole world to see. According to Rachel Gilmore, she has been in contact with the family of the person misidentified in that photo. And they are apparently terrified to leave the home at the moment. I wonder why. I also wonder if that was the point. Not only them, but anybody who identifies as transgender. Particularly if they happen to be of a certain body type or have facial features or bodily features that makes it harder for them to pass. By doing this in this way, this person just painted a target on every transgender person in Canada. And we know that there's no lack of people, given the interventions by Tara Armstrong and Stockwell Day, who should know better. But there's no lack of people willing to attack them. We should know by the basic crime statistics, hate crime statistics, that there's no lack of people who don't need a reason like this to go out and attack them. Who've attacked them for far less than suspecting they might have been a mass shooter, took the lives of children. But these people could not trip over themselves fast enough, despite that football, and feed in to the already existing cesspool of anti-transgender hate. These are inherently selfish people who decided that the death of children, educator, and members of the family of the shooter was the perfect and prime opportunity to make the whole situation about themselves. And to potentially compound the tragedy by potentially provoking more death and injury. They saw a tragedy and they saw an opportunity. I have no words. There is not a word in the English language. There are no words in the English language strong enough to describe what happened in Tumbler Ridge, to be able to express sorrow and solidarity. The words do not exist, but there are also no words in the English language to express the contemptible nature and motives of those who, again, I repeat, couldn't step over the bodies fast enough in order to make the issue about chromosomes and their own self-aggrandizement rather than about who the day should have been and about whom all days henceforth should be. Yes, police investigators tried to find information about motive so that we can then, with that information, shore up whatever it is that we need to, either in terms of legislation or having programs, so that nobody else gets to the point where they feel they should take a gun and bring it to a school. or to turn a gun against their own family members. Yes, we do that. For that very specific reason. Also, asterisk, of course, if there's going to be a court case, because you have to prove motive, but in this case there will be no court case because the shooter in question took their own life. But we're not supposed to be doing that in order to campaign or lead an online assault where we smear every single member of an identifiable community with the same broad, dark brush in this case. In a moment that called for empathy and humanity, those who are doing this are shouting from the rooftops who it is they are not and never will be. There are plenty of tweets mocking the Prime Minister for having shown tears. Some of the content, because we know that the Prime Minister has a child who identifies as non-binary, is stomach-turning. Again, those of you who use this opportunity to spread whatever toxicity and societal fentanyl that you are bringing to the potluck, you're also screaming to the world who it is you will never be. And perhaps it is because our Prime Minister is able to be empathetic and humane, and you're not. Perhaps that is factoring in to the reason for which you choose, because it is choice, to sport this look in public. To all of you, we say unequivocally, you cannot sit with us. You show up on our feeds, you will be blocked. We have no time for you. Don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But we sure wish you did go home. The less said from you, the better. The less heard from you, the better. This is not your moment. It's theirs. It's the community's. It's those of the families and the friends and all those who loved and cared for them. It is not yours. Not every single damn moment has to be about your cause. There are no words. Execrable, loathsome, abhorrent, shameful, disgusting, repellent, repugnant. None of them are strong enough. There is a lack of basic humanity. It is very hard to witness. It is exhausting, but that's the point, isn't it? Now, right? To exhaust us to the point where we just put our arms down and let them do what they will. rather than oppose them. And no, we don't have to answer, as Rachel Gilmore said, every single one of them. We don't. We don't have to debunk their claims. We don't have to. You can't sit with us. You have nothing to say that is worth hearing or entertaining or considering. You cannot sit with us. And you will not be doing it on our feeds. All right. And that's what we've got for that topic today. Then we move on to the ugly, if that wasn't ugly enough. But we use ugly in this specific case because of the comment itself that was made. David Hurley, former operative, I believe he worked on the Kathleen Wynne campaigns, worked on a few others, has a few podcasts. And on one of them, he made a comment about Jamil Javadi. Now, you know we don't have much love for Jamil Javadi. But there was a comment of the sort, I don't have the exact quote, but wondering aloud, says, because here we tell the truth. Is Jamil Javadi just too physically unattractive to be a leader? He will never be the leader of a political party because he's too physically unattractive to be one. Why? And on that particular day of Tumbler Ridge, why? Why? Other than knowing that that would be controversial and gain clicks, why? Ugly's on the inside. Everybody has different criteria of what they consider physically attractive. Right? I'm a member of the rainbow community. There are a lot of people who like bears. What we call bears. Guys who are bigger, full-bodied, sometimes even more so. They find that attractive. There are relationships that have a certain age gaps. There are younger people who find older people attractive. Everybody has a different standard of what they find attractive. When I look at Jamil Javadi, if I find him unattractive anyway, it's because of what comes out of his mouth and what he does. It has nothing to do with his physical appearance. But by going there, the members of our congregation of Our Lady of the Perpetually Aggrieved now have a legitimate issue to run with. Oh, why do these liberals always have to comment on someone's physical appearance? As if they don't. I'm old enough to remember that 1993 campaign ad that mocked Jean Chrétien. Is this a leader? I can't believe you said that about Jamil Javadi. He's a cancer survivor. Jean Chrétien was a polio survivor. Illness was not a reason to stop them from doing it there, as they are riding on their high horse to claim being grieved. And it's not like we didn't just witness an entire decade of nice hair, though, and many suggestions that Justin Trudeau was too effeminate to be a real leader. It's selective outrage, yes. But they were handed a legitimate opportunity. As we talk a lot about on this show, that when you are delivering a message and you want it to be consistent through time, you have to avoid at all times inserting noise into your message that distracts from it. That was noise. It's conduct unbecoming. It's not required. It's not needed. But he went there. And now they have an issue to run with and point at us and call us monsters and fundraise off of. It gains this man, who is actively working against our country, sympathy. Remember, he allegedly went to the United States to help us, though nobody asked him specifically, and though he has no authority to do so, negotiate a better deal with the United States, a country that doesn't really want one. And then come back and told us that Trump loves us. We've also sort of found out that if Trump loves us, Trump is two-timing us, because he also said he loves Europe. So, so much for that love. And then after he said he loves us, he threatened the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge. So Jamil Giovanni got a little bit taste of Donald Trump's love. But yeah, there's now a legitimate issue to gain this man sympathy. And it was unnecessary, uncalled for. Now there's some people going around saying, yeah, and it's racist. Jamil Giovanni is black. It's racist. Unless David Hurley specifically suggested that it is Jamil Giovanni's blackness that makes him unattractive, too unattractive to ever be a party leader, then no. Speaking as a partially black man myself, to suggest a black person is unattractive while classless and uncouth is not racist if your reasons for finding them unattractive are based on pure aesthetics that have nothing to do with the color of the skin. If you are saying that he is unattractive because he's black, then yeah, that's hella racist. From the bit that I saw of David Hurley's comments, he didn't go there. It was really interesting yesterday having people try to explain to me on the net what racism is. Like I've never experienced it. But yeah, here we are. Listen, I understand that it's cathartic to sometimes let some frustrations out. We're not beyond mocking people. Guilty of sin. We do it more than our fair share, maybe even on the show. But on looks, and to claim that someone's looks would make them unqualified for leadership? No. As much as I have no affection whatsoever for Jamil Giovanni, no. We can't be doing that. We can't be doing that. Evan Solomon, not Evan Solomon, I have him on my mind. Evan Scrimshaw had a pretty interesting take about this that I would like to read into the record about pretty much everything that we have said today. that I thought was particularly well written and I guess eloquently stated, I would say in a way. We know that I hesitate a little bit with eloquently stated because um, if anybody has read Evan Scrimshaw's writing, um, he's not adverse to a few colorful epithets and very strongly delivered opinions that are not subtle, or about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the forehead. But this is something that's worth hearing and reading. Tumbler Ridge, Hurley, and Canada's Crisis of Compassion. It's just talking about this lack of humanity and empathy. How to Rise to a Moment, written on February 12th. This site rarely covers tragedies because it usually goes without saying that they're tragic. I felt no need to add my name to the chorus of statements about Tumbler Ridge on Tuesday night because I'm not anybody. I'm not a politician, and I frankly despise those who have offer-tweeted thoughts and prayers to the grieving families or those injured or killed as if they were one. It's of course a tragedy, and one that I fail to comprehend on any level. But Wednesday's seen Canada at both its best and worst. An extraordinary scene in the House with every party elevating themselves to the moment and partisan divisions being furthest thing from consideration, paired with both the culture war around the shooter's identity and the latest clip of David Hurley's making an ass out of himself taking a shot at Jamil Javani. And for those things to happen on the very same day is making me very fucking angry. The shooting is obviously the greatest tragedy the country currently faces, a brutal and devastating attack on a community that never could have expected it. It's horrific, and we should not let this tragedy recede into the background, one of 100 things that are happening at the same time. This is a horrible, tragic, and consequential moment in our history, and we need to meet this moment with the urgency it requires. But that does not mean it is acceptable to use this to further hatred and bigotry. The idea that this shooting tells us anything about trans people, as some on the right are trying to say, is as nonsensical as it is offensive. The École Polytechnique in Dawson College in Nova Scotia didn't prove that white men were all murderous psychos, and anybody who might have been crass and indifferent enough to say it would have been resoundingly hounded for such a horrific use of tragedy to score points. Those attacking the trans community now should equally wind their necks and shut the fuck up. Excuse me, I have to cough. But we should also find it within ourselves to understand that condemnation of that hatred requires condemnation of Hurley too. Hurley has been a whipping boy of this site for years, and I stand by all of the criticism of him I've leveled, but this is not criticism, this is condemnation. To attack Javani is to be a liberal. He's an unserious thinker whose ideas are shallow, and his entitlement. To attack Javani is to be a liberal. He's an unserious thinker whose ideas are shallow, and his entitlement to a role-forming government policy on the US because he plays fantasy football is immense. But that doesn't justify what Hurley said, because none of that justifies a personal and vitriolic attack on his looks. That Hurley thinks Javani's problem is that he's, quote, too unattractive physically is just patently unacceptable. It's also a thought that's best kept to oneself, if one has it. But both, while obviously of different gravity, are fundamentally two manifestations of the same crisis our country faces, a crisis of compassion. We find reasons to be shitty, we look for ways to accentuate the differences, not look for similarities. Our brains are wired to look for reasons to dunk on people and to make ourselves better than, even when it achieves nothing at all. I'm not going to act like I'm above this. There was a particularly hostile weekend around a year ago now where I decided to relentlessly and needlessly provoke Albertans. Did I need to? No. But I was in a bad mood, and that part of me that likes to fight had control of the tweeting fingers. I didn't need to do it, and I shouldn't have. Was I right about what I said? I don't know if I think I was anymore, and I frankly don't care. It was needlessly antagonistic, and I didn't need to do it. We need to start thinking about whether things are necessary. The answer is often going to be, it's not. We don't have to add in the personal swipe or jab. The nasty tweet designed to show the world you're better than someone else can stay in the drafts. The endless need to one-up everybody isn't doing any good. It's a mode that we're all too fucking comfortable in, talking about people we don't know like they're horrible monsters for the sin of disagreeing. The accusation of bad faith that surrounded me for saying Trudeau needed to go extended to accusations of bribery and corruption, because it was inconceivable to people that I could generally just believe that in good faith. The reason for that is because we've turned good faith into something we only extend to people we decide are good politics. For Hurley, that doesn't include J.D. Vance's Yale buddy, and for some conservatives, that means it's open season on transphobia. Obviously, it's not all conservatives. Dimitri Soudas's comments today were wise and genuinely appreciated, at least, and plenty of liberals are no fans of Hurley's or his comments. But we need these moments to be a reminder to everybody to dig in and to find our common humanity before we find the thing that drives us apart. It's not just a moral nicety. The country has some massive structural problems that will need to be fixed in the next 10 years, and it will be impossible if we don't work with people in good faith. And guess what? You only get the benefits of good faith if you show it to your opponents. Expecting the other side to take you on faith while you refuse to give them an inch of understanding is how countries fall. It's how you end up reading about the way things used to be while whistling Wheat Kings. That's not good enough for me, and it's not good enough for this country. Tumbler Ridge is a horrific tragedy, and one we cannot undo or wish away, but it can be a moment we look back on it as a Rubicon, a moment where we saw where we were headed and decided not to let us go there. For all our sakes. Boom. We care about the causes we care about passionately. We should. Democracy is something that we do. You got to put yourself in the game. Your body, your emotions, your soul, your spirit, your intelligence, your skill sets. That fire of passion is a positive thing. The fire of anger, when properly directed and controlled, can get a lot accomplished. But there's a difference when you allow that flame and that fire to get inflamed. And you decide that it's best used to burn it all down. And that's when, hopefully, we have people around us who can tell us, you need to pump your brakes here. Or as in a reality TV parlance, that we need to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Once you say things, it's hard to take them back, even if you apologize after, even if you're sincere, and even if you do all the things that I mentioned that an apology contains. Once you crack a mirror, you might be able to look past that crack when you're looking in the mirror. The crack's always there. At some point, you've got to see it. You might discount it or whatnot, or say it's not important, but it will always be there. You will always see it. Taking a moment to wonder, do I need to say that before I say that? Does this contribute anything of worth to the debate? Do I really need to go there? It's not a bad thing to take a breath and maybe ask ourselves some questions. Perhaps if a said reporter that we were talking about earlier had done that, the life of at least one transgender person somewhere in Canada, and maybe many more of them, wouldn't be as in danger today as it is. I'm all for snark. Y'all know I'm petty. But We need standards, and we need to hold ourselves to them, and we need to ask people that we can't trust to check us when we are crossing the line, and hopefully to check us before we cross the line. I personally like to be checked, not when I'm just up against the line and doing the not touching you, but when I'm a couple of feet still away from the line. I would like to hope that I conduct myself in a way where I never get that close to the line to wonder if I'm going to step across it. But I'm human like everybody else. I am sure that I've had feelings. I'm sure there have been things, despite my best intent and despite my mission and my mandate, one of the show, one that I've given to myself, it hasn't been conferred to me. Again, like Evan, I'm a nobody. But there's a standard that I wish to hold myself to. We had some conversations online the other day where somebody was saying, well, you really need to have, you don't have the balls to have Jeffrey Rath on your show to have a conversation. It's not a matter of balls. It's not a particular act of courage to invite Jeffrey Rath to come and be on our show. We have standards. Conservatives are always welcome on our show. People who are conservative leaning and minded are always welcome on our show. We've had some. We've extended invitations. But they are people that we hopefully, or that we suspect, come to the show in good faith and will deliver comments that are good faith comments and not just fever dream fantasies that they've made up. That if they have an opinion that is different from ours, or if they disagree with us, it is still based on verifiable facts, and that the logic follows. Thing which we can say, well, you know what, we don't agree with your conclusion, but we can see how you got there. We need more of that. We need a lot more of that, and those who enter this game and do not wish to do that and show a consistent, pervasive, and prolonged inability or unwillingness for good faith. They are guests we do not want on our show. They're people with whom we do not want to be associated. They can't sit with us. And they are probably people who should take a moment at this time and reconsider if they are in the proper line of work. There's enough going on in the world that we don't need that. So kids and cubs, I rely on you because we all have a blind spot. Should I be going there, please call me out. Call me out. I was going to say I'm a big beaver, but that probably would sound dirty. I'm a big boy. I can take it. I might even balk at first because nobody likes to be told, hey, you're fucking up. But I'd like to hope to think that if somebody brings that to my attention, even if I maybe not react as graciously as I could in the moment, that upon a little bit of reflection, when I do the mirror test, it's just me, myself in a mirror, and say, yeah, you know what? They were right. I need to apologize, or I need to change something in the way I'm going about doing stuff so that this does not happen again. So please call me out. Yes, and call each other out. Be willing to accept the possibility that you may have overstepped some early words of wisdom, I guess. In some cases, you may not have been, could just be somebody projecting onto you what they need, wish, want to be true about you in order for what they are going to do next to work. But sometimes they're right. And sometimes the source of that being called to order can be from someone from a side you don't usually agree with. And again, as we say on the show often, if it is from our own side, it is our duty to ensure that we hold ourselves to a higher standard. It is first our duty to hold ourselves to a higher standard before seeking it from others. We need to lead by example. What Mr. Hurley did was not okay. It just was not okay. All right, kids and cubs, that's it for this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show, or afternoon show in this case. We hope that you loved listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And if you can, share a little word about why it is our content resonates with you. Because that's advertising that we possibly cannot buy. I am very much looking forward to reading the comments for today's show because I have a feeling I'm going to learn a lot. So thank you for all of you who contribute in the comments. Oh boy. Kids and cubs, of course, if you would like to help us because you enjoy our content and you would like us to do more, we have two ways that you can do that. The first way you can do that is by traveling down to our YouTube page if you're not there already. And this QR code will get you there. And click on our buttons like, share, and subscribe. You will get the approval of Kids Elaine and Cassie and our undying gratitude. When you do so, it helps us with the algorithm. It helps more people find us. And we thank you for your help in that front. And if you think, again, that our content and the way we go about doing what we do is worthy of financial support, we could definitely use it. So if you could scan this QR code, that will bring you to the Emergency Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where a couple of loonies and teas can help us grow and expand and maintain what we do and produce content like this for you on a regular basis. We thank you. Our coffee page is at coffee.fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. I did actually pour myself a glass of Beaver Pilsner, but I left it on the counter, which is why I could resort to it when I needed to cough today. But please keep your favorite beaver nice and moist, because a moist beaver is a happy beaver, indeed. Also, if you're doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Please send us a donation that way. That way, no USC Tech Bros get a share of your donation. All of it comes to us, and therefore your donation goes further. And kids and cubs, also, if you're not able, well, we do have super chats, of course, and memberships on our YouTube page. But if you're not able to contribute financially, do remember we still want a contribution from you, perhaps in word, and letting us know what you think of the show, bad or ugly. And particularly on today's show, I would really love to hear what it is that you had to say, because this is, whenever we get the chance to do something a little more meaningful, we'd like to know how we come across. A little 360-degree feedback is never a good thing. So if you've never written onto the show before, please do with this one to let us know what you thought of how we handled this, because we have a lot to learn from you. Let's see. Okay. Because democracy is something that you do. If you live in Quebec, remember that you have a provincial by-election on the 23rd in the riding of Chicoutimi. The public consultation for the high-speed rail is taking place. I believe that's altotrain.ca. If you go there and look for the public consultation pages, you can provide your comments there. Remember, kids and cubs, that we do have 3 petitions for you. One of them is House of Commons petition E7148 to request let it become mandatory that Pierre get his security clearance, and that one is at now 35,000 plus signatures. We also have the two other petitions that are closing soon, one of them on the 16th and one on the 18th, that would ask the Minister of Health to use the disallowance clause to annul moves made in Alberta and Saskatchewan that put our transgender brothers and sisters at risk, and that deny them legal rights to even challenge them by having invoked the notwithstanding clause. That is not okay, and we should fight that. And also the petition to ensure that law is passed so that Canadian media could be owned and operated by Canadians to deliver news that is in the best interest of Canadians. So please, kids and cubs, if you have the opportunity to do that, please go and sign them and circulate them. Those are ourcommons.ca petitions number. Take a look at these for you here. Oh, no, I don't. Yes. Oh, I don't have the numbers. Oh, yes, I do. E7027, and that's for with regard to the use of the disallowance clause, and E6821 to make sure that Canadian media is indeed Canadian. Okay, that's all I got for you for the moment. Kids and cubs, I may do a pre-record for Saturday, or actually come on and do a live Saturday to make up for yesterday. Also because it's Valentine's Day and it's a day for love, and well, we do love the damn fam. But if I do that, given how heavy today is and the past few days have been, it is going to be a good news show. I think we need a little bit of good news. So I'm going to focus on that. There's some good things that are happening. We've got some good details. Of course, our Olympians are making us proud. So if we do indeed go and do that tomorrow, that's what we will be focusing on. Some good news, because we need it. All right, kids and cubs, at the count of 3, may I please ask you to say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. 1, 2, and 3. Ah, yes, I hear you, kids and cubs. I hear you. And as your Royale with cheese, Queen Beaver, since you've asked so nicely, I must oblige. We will have no Easter egg, so we'll just do the credits and out. Amour et bisous, and we'll see you soon.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.